Hold the presses. This just in.
This is such a weird time to be a Bond fan. Years of no news whatsoever, just crickets, and now all of a sudden everything we hear is of such a seismic proportion that it's enough to flood Silicon Valley.
And create a double earthquake?
Good evening, Mr. Bond fans. It is March 25th, 2025, and today Amazon MGM Studios have announced that the producers of the next James Bond film will be Amy Pascal and David Heyman. According to a statement from the studio, today Amazon MGM Studios announced that producers Amy Pascal and David Heyman have come aboard to produce the studio's upcoming James Bond film. Pascal will produce the film via Pascal Pictures, and Heyman will produce via Heyday Films. We are approaching every creative decision with James Bond, which Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson have so masterfully steered, with the greatest sense of responsibility, said Amazon MGM Studios head of film Courtney Valente. Part of an elite group of producers who have developed and managed massive film franchises to box office success and critical acclaim, Amy Pascal and David Heyman are two of the most accomplished, experienced, and respected film producers in our industry. We are honoured to be working with them on James Bond's next chapter, and we are excited to deliver to global audiences storytelling that upholds the impeccable legacy of this beloved character. James Bond is one of the most iconic characters in the history of cinema, said Amy Pascal and David Heyman. We are humbled to follow in the footsteps of Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, who made so many extraordinary films, and honoured and excited to keep the spirit of Bond very much alive as he embarks on his next adventure. The article goes on to talk about Pascal and Heyman's credentials, but just even reading the words, upcoming Bond film, like those three words in that order is not something that I thought I'd be saying for a very long time. That's from the Amazon MGM Studios site, but there were also posts on the James Bond official accounts, and let me tell you, it was a surreal sight seeing the actual official Bond accounts posting this news. Like, this new era is really going to take some getting used to for me. This follows a good few weeks of speculation that Pascal and Heyman were indeed going to take over. I mean, their names have been floating around in the rumour mill for a little while now, and even though these rumours were coming from quite well-informed sources, I didn't think we would be getting an announcement about producers, like, quite so soon. It's only just been like a month since Amazon announced that they were taking creative control of the series away from Eon Productions. As far as I'm aware, the deal between Amazon MGM and Eon Productions to hand over creative control is still ongoing, and yet Amazon must have a good deal of confidence that it's actually all going to go through if they're making these big announcements. Or maybe it even is signed right now. I don't know. There hasn't been an official announcement about it, but if it isn't signed, then Barbara Broccoli has the opportunity to do the funniest thing in the world right now.
So, does anybody else want to drop out?
But anyway, Amy Pascal and David Heyman are big name producers, and I think it's quite clear from this appointment that Amazon are taking this thing very seriously. And quickly, too. Like, the devil works fast, but Amazon works faster. Obviously, Pascal has the big feather in her cap of the Spider-Man film series, and David Heyman has the big feather in his cap of the Harry Potter film series, and yeah, that's obviously why these two people are here, right? There aren't all that many people in the world that can boast that they have produced multi-billion-dollar film franchises, so the fact that we're gonna have two here is, you know, that's saying something. And not just the financial elements of this either, but just the fact that both Spider-Man and Harry Potter are these iconic, culturally relevant characters, just like James Bond. Pascal herself has already worked on Bond films previously when she was an incredibly senior executive at Sony. That reminds me, actually, I do need to look up the Sony hacks from a few years ago, if you remember rightly, because there were some comments from Pascal in there, and I think, if I'm remembering this rightly, Pascal was very skeptical and against the whole Bond Blofeld brother thing being Inspector, and if I'm remembering that rightly, and she was against that whole plot development, then big thumbs up from me. With David Heyman especially, like, I do have to confess, I'm not a big Harry Potter geek. Like, I've seen all of the films, I've read a couple of the books back when I was a kid. I would probably cite, you know, I like half the films, I guess, but that's not a problem with how they are produced. That is just my issue with Harry Potter in general. So when I look at David Heyman's filmography, it's actually his non-Harry Potter stuff that I look at as kind of like, oh yeah, that was great, like Gravity, I love that film. The Paddington films, the great Paddington 1 and 2 at least he produced. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood I thought was great. He did Barbie, which of course made an awful lot of money, won a lot of awards. Wonka was very popular. Amazon's objective here was clearly to pick an incredibly steady, you know, tried and tested pair of hands. And I think that they've covered a lot of bases with these appointments. Like, you have someone who did work quite intimately on the previous Bond films. Both of them have produced these gigantic billion-dollar franchises, but they've also worked on much smaller, character-driven films. Like Amy Pascal worked on, Steven Spielberg's The Post, Greta Gerwig's Little Women. What I do think is an interesting observation to make about the appointment of these two is that David Heyman is 63 years old, Amy Pascal is 66 years old. Oh, today's Amy Pascal's birthday. What a wonderful birthday present. March 25th. Here, Amy. Have a multi-billion-dollar franchise as your birthday present. I just find that interesting because we Bond fans had talked for quite a bit about, succession planning at Eon Productions. Michael G. Wilson is in his 80s, of course, but Barbara Broccoli was in her 60s, and there was some speculation about, like, okay, well, how long is she going to be at the reins before she needs to hand it over to somebody else? And, the fact that they're getting in producers that are sort of around Barbara Broccoli's age kind of tells me that, like, oh, okay, they're not necessarily here for the long game. They may well be here for, 2, 3, 4 films to kind of lay the groundwork, and then whenever it comes to a future era of Bond, producers are interchangeable in Bond now, which is a really strange place for the series to be. The producers previously have always been the main stalwarts, like Albert R. Broccoli, Harry Saltzman, Barbara Broccoli, Michael G. Wilson. There you go. My own personal feelings about this is that as much as it's like, I don't think producer appointments are what people who are really into a particular franchise geek out about necessarily. I think that probably is going to come more from, the writers, the director, the stars. But I do think that the key word here is steady. These are two incredibly successful, incredibly proven producers, and they are not going to let this thing fail, right? Like, they are clearly, Amazon, MGM as a company, are clearly putting an awful lot behind it, and the fact that these are the first, major appointments regarding the production of the film that we're hearing about, I find it difficult to pick fault with. I know already, I know people who've, might not like a particular film or two from either of these people's filmographies, and, yeah, sure, if you want to point to, a single film that one of them made and said, oh no, I don't want them anywhere near this because they made that, then fine, I'm not going to stop you, but just looking at the bulk of their work, and again, the tried and tested nature of their careers, I'm kind of like, okay, I don't know how you get more accomplished or proven than this. It's also really interesting that the Amazon statement said that they're going to be producing it through their own companies, so we've previously speculated about, okay, Eon are ceding creative control, but they're still going to be joint owners of James Bond, so will their production company be involved in some way? Maybe not. I also feel like if Amazon keep up this pace of appointments, then maybe, the end of 2027 is a feasible date for Bond 26. I mean, it'll be the 65th anniversary of the franchise, and we know that the Bond films love their anniversaries. They have incredible success when they release a film on big anniversary years. Die Another Day and Skyfall were big box office successes, both released on the 40th and 50th anniversaries. And I kind of feel like, yeah, okay, maybe, the rest of this year they kind of work on the creative direction, they make some other key creative appointments, and then maybe towards the end of this year, start of next year, they're searching for a new Bond. They start the filming in 2026 and then release 2027. And then you're releasing a Bond film in a date that has 7 in the year, so that's always going to be a helpful thing, I think. And then just imagining, the marketing. I mean, Amazon, can put new Bond film out in theaters on this date on every single box that they send out into the world every single day, however many millions upon billions of boxes that are sent out containing products that people buy on their website. I think there really is potential for Bond to go to the next level with this, which is, I'm not gonna lie, it's very exciting.
Funny how the least little thing amuses him.
Does this mean I need to review the Harry Potter and Spider-Man films on the channel now? Is that a thing I need to look into? Let me know in the comment section below. Also below you can find links to my various social media pages, as well as the subscribe button and the Mrs. Bell notification button, so do be sure to click both of those if you want to stay up to date on future video uploads and news discussions. Stay up to date on the news, because boy, we're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about this year, I think. But with all that being said, and until next time, Bond fans, so long for now.